Welcome to Mommispace, the podcast for moms of all stages. My name is Aubrey Coots, and this podcast was created to give moms a voice to share their experiences and to share that there's not just one way to be a mom. This is a place where you can learn to love the woman inside the mother. Welcome back to Mommispace. This is Aubrey, and this is our second episode of the back to school season. And today I am interviewing my friend Tiffany Murray, and we got connected through our church, and it's been cool to get to know her more over the last few years and experience adopting children together, having that common ground, and just getting to watch her and her husband make different schooling decisions for their kids over the last few years. And so I'm excited to learn from her today and just to hear more about what that process has looked like for her. So Tiff, welcome to Mommispace.
Well, hi. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So for those that are listening that don't know you, or maybe for those that do but wouldn't know all of this information, I'd love if you could start by just kind of introducing yourself a little bit, telling us about you and your family and the story of your journey into motherhood.
Okay, well, again, my name's Tiffany Murray, and I am a mom of 4 awesome, amazing, smart, and perfect kids. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. 8, let's see, how old are they? 8, almost
when there's that many, it's hard.
7, 5, almost 6, and 2, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Oh, and I forgot my husband. He's really cute, too.
Oh, yeah, there's him.
Yeah, if without him, I would be a scattered, complete mess. So he holds us all together, which is really nice. So we got married in 2008, and just a couple of years later got pregnant with our oldest, Selah, who is 8, almost 9. They're all like about to have birthdays. And we actually had our first baby. I'm just blubbering right now, but our first baby was a miscarriage.
Okay.
And so Selah came after our first baby, which was really cool. And then 2 years later, we had Olivia. And then about almost 2 years later, we brought our son home from China. And then a very surprising, less than 1 year later, we found out we were pregnant with Wyatt.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we came into motherhood. It was all very fast, and it's taken a lot of growth and a lot of hardship on my end, a lot of giving over myself to be a mom.
Yeah. As
someone who really enjoys doing big things, and I don't know, I'm a doer. So children kind of made me slow down, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey of figuring out, okay, I'm a mom, but I have ideas and I want to do stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And having 4, I'm sure, I have 3, so having 4 children, you learn a lot every day.
Yeah.
It's very refining and good and growing, and yeah, I mean, just knowing you, like the bits I know about you, like you do have like an ambitious personality, and you are a go-getter. It's not like you're just, sitting at home all day. Like you're a very passionate person in a really good way. And so it's cool to see just how you're a mom in the midst of all the other things that you're a part of and doing as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously this episode is about, or this whole month, we're talking about different schooling options. And I would love to hear just how you and Donnie have decided what kind of schooling was best for your children just over the last several years since they've started.
Oof, okay. We have opened up the can of worms because it's been quite the journey. I didn't know this, but for like the first, 9-10 years of our marriage, I think I was living my life for other people I think I thought I had to be like certain people who are nothing like me. And so my idea of quote motherhood or being a good mom is being at your children's beckoning call, their side every second of every day, having all of the influence, giving them all their ideas, homeschooling them because public school is, quote, so terrible or whatever. I mean, I think I just kind of followed suit with what some people were doing around me. And I think I really wanted to do those things. I want to, like, it's funny because you said, what did you say? I'm a go-getter and I don't just like sit around, which I want to be able to do that. Today I was just processing like, I really should slow down. I wish I could just like, I heard a podcast yesterday, 2 days ago, saying that like Jesus, when he was on earth, like his hustle was like 3 miles an hour.
Hmm.
Whereas today our hustle is like, who can be fastest? Who can get there fastest?
Yeah.
So I really want to be like more like Jesus, really. I want to be like 3 miles an hour so I can like see people around me and stuff. But anyway, back to like where I was processing through where to put my kids in school. I wanted to be slow and sit around and sit on the floor and read books to my kids. But the reality of that, let's be honest, it was not that. It was the worst. No, okay. I just really struggled with homeschool. I did it because I felt like it was what I was supposed to do, and I didn't do it because I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Preschool was great. Kindergarten was hard because I had a lot of, I went through a charter, and I felt a lot of pressure through the charter school of like organizing things, which I'm not good at. I'm good at organizing parties. Give me an events plan and I'll make it amazing. But like
Yeah.
organizing math,
You're all,
I'm
no thanks.
I'm done. So we started with homeschool, and not only was it not good for me, but because it wasn't good for me, it really wasn't good for my kids because mommy was a mess. And, granted, I just started my first year of official homeschool the year that we adopted our son from China,
Yeah.
who didn't speak any English, who had a lot of emotional trauma and just a lot. Oh my gosh. I mean,
Right.
so I was trying to homeschool, and then my oldest had a really hard time learning how to read, and everything was just different than what I experienced when I was a kid. So I just thought like, oh, we're just gonna like in kindergarten we like wrote cursive, I feel like. No,
Yeah.
is that crazy? Can't remember. I just remember thinking one way of how it was supposed to look, and then in reality it was different, and I'm not a trained teacher, so I just really couldn't handle the pressure of
Yeah.
homeschool. Um, but so I started to notice my children just weren't thriving, and I started to realize that I kind of was only doing this because I felt pressured to for homeschool. So
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
decided to look into, what did we do next? We put them in the same charter school into like a 4-day program
Okay.
instead of 5 day. So it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that was an interesting experience. The charter was fairly new, not super organized, but it was a good little foot in the door for the kids to kind of get their feet wet until they finally got into the real charter school that we wanted. It's a public charter. It's a STEM school. They wear uniforms. It's like amazing. It's the best school ever. I love it so much.
That's
And
awesome.
my son, Donnie, was not, he didn't get in yet. And so we had to put him in the closest public school, which was an interesting experience, going from homeschool to the homeschool charter to then like a 5-day public charter that really feels like a private school,
Yeah.
and putting my son in public school. And my son has a lot of special needs, just emotionally and sensory issues like sound, and so it was just an interesting experience. They just didn't really fully know how to handle him, and I felt uncomfortable dropping him off every day. He was just really miserable. um, I think it would have been different had it been some of my other children. They just probably would have been able to handle things like a loud classroom better or whatever, but
Yeah.
I had a really hard time. So I ended up pulling him out of the public school mid-year in February, and just kind of like worked on attachment with him. And yeah, we just worked on attachment and bonding with him until he finally got into the charter school here that my other kids are going to. And so that's been beautiful, because what we love about this public charter that they're going to now is they really instill leadership and I don't know, leadership. It's just amazing. And my son Donnie, they give him these earmuffs.
Yeah.
Put them on whenever he wants to. And he has like a calm down station that has like sand and Play-Doh and whatever if he feels stressed out. So it's really kind of cool. They kind of are really aware of children who, because nowadays, honestly, there's so many kids who, their parents aren't home, and some kids deal with a lot of trauma, or I don't know, there's just a lot going on with kids
Yeah.
these days. And they're just really super aware of that, and they deal with it really well. So it's been really cool to see just the progression of those three things, homeschool, public to the public charter. And my kids are thriving. They're thriving. My daughter was in second grade. That was her first year going to like real school, second grade. And
Yeah.
she couldn't read. She couldn't read at all. That'll give you a little idea of how great homeschool was for me. She couldn't read. And she really struggled last year, but like now she just has so much confidence. She's doing amazing.
That's
She,
so cool.
yeah, I just feel like they were able to really pull that out in her. They thrive where they're going to thrive, is what I've learned.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we changed it, because we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Right. And that's a great point. Like, you're like, well, we tried different things out, and that's how we figured out what was best for our kids, instead of just being like, nope, this is what we're doing. And I talked to Jen about like similar mindset of take it a year at a time. Like, you don't have to be set in the same school for K through 8th or K through 6 or whatever. But kind of like knowing your kids, and like you said, even with Selah, you're like, okay, they have really like pulled this like confidence out of her, where now she is able to like learn and enjoys that, more. And she's thriving in that setting, where it's like you wouldn't have known that if you wouldn't have, tried a few different options. So it's like
Yeah.
cool to hear that, and encouraging. Like, I think even for myself, my oldest is in kindergarten, and we're like thinking like, okay, well, what are we going to do, for in the next few years? Like, next year, should we stay at the same school? Should we move? What should, like, we're like thinking through different options in moving forward, and for our other two that aren't in school yet.
Yeah.
And so I think it's encouraging just to hear from other moms, like, there are different things that you can try out and see like what works for your family and for your kids. So, yeah.
Yeah. And just being able to, like, I don't know, get rid of the lies that are telling you that, yeah, whatever, like, you're a horrible mom if you pull your kids out of school, or you're a horrible mom if you don't homeschool, or, whatever. Like, you just have to evaluate how your home situation is going, and like what's best for the whole family.
Right.
Like, kids deserve to have a loving mother. And so I was not a loving mother when I was homeschooling.
We've like thrown out the idea of homeschooling. I'm like, I can barely get through homework.
It takes like a special angel like Jen.
Who, shout out, we will be interviewing in one of our future episodes. So,
Surprise!
yeah. We'll get to hear from Jen and about the adventures of homeschooling in a future episode. Okay, so maybe you kind of already answered this next question, But I don't know if you have anything to add, or if you were thinking through the the next question is, when or why would you ever reconsider a different type of schooling option for your children? Or would you not reconsider? But obviously you did. So I
Yeah,
guess,
I mean,
yeah, if you have anything to add for that.
everything's always changing. Like, there's some legislation that just changed that's going to change my kid's medical status.
Right.
So it's like, okay, now I got to think about now what am I going to do because I had such a hard time with homeschool. Um, yeah, so if it's up to me, all my kids would stay at their charter school until they aged out. Um, but when and if the time comes that we need to make a switch, we'll just do what works best for the dynamics of our children's needs.
Yeah.
This topic gives me so much anxiety, but I just have to remind myself of the nearness of God and trust Him in these types of fears, because just like He's taking care of my need by relieving me from that stress of homeschooling when it just wasn't my thing, He will still help me through whatever comes in the future with anything else.
Yeah. No, that's a great reminder too. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like with these changes that are out of our control, that could affect our kids' schooling, like trusting the Lord in that and trusting that, like, I know that you and I are on the same page with knowing like God is sovereign, He's in control, He knows what He's doing. So not having fear in
Yeah,
moving forward, when that time comes, if that time comes, on figuring out what's next.
yeah, so much freedom in that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the next question is, what for you is most important about your children's education and learning experience?
I want my kids to have the time of their lives. It's super important to me that their school expects excellence and
Yeah.
um and we have definitely found that where we're at right now. So I just really enjoy watching my kids. The bar is really high at the school they're at now, and my kids are like reaching for it. Versus I've seen in the other school they were at, the bar was super low. Like,
Okay.
they could do whatever the heck they wanted, and my kids just really met that bar. But as long as they keep the bar high and they expect, again, excellence and leadership, then it's really beautiful to see kids really reaching for that, because everyone around them is reaching for it too, even the teachers. So
Yeah, that's
um,
super cool. I'm curious, what are some of the things, so this isn't a question that I let you look at it ahead of time, but what are some of the things that you really love about your school that your kids are at?
one of the things that I really love about the school where my kids are at now is every student that walks into the gate, they have a staff member. Right now, it's the beginning of the year, and it's their principal. And in every gate, there's a staff member, and every single kid that walks in the gate, this is TK through sixth grade, they have to shake the principal's hand and they say good morning, principal's name. And then the kid has to say good morning. I think they have to say their name. No, they say good morning. So like my kid, good morning, Sayla. And she would say good morning, Dr. Principal's name. I just love that, because it's like, even in the
That
small,
respect.
yeah, respect and confidence and eye-to-eye contact, and it's just so much about just that one handshake, setting them up for the day. I just love that so much.
Yeah, and that's like a daily thing still?
Daily, yeah,
Wow,
every day.
that's
Right.
awesome. I
Even
love
last
it.
year, up until the very end, that's like part of their protocol. Like, you walk in, and this is what we do. We just say good morning to each other. And another thing I like is whenever there's a new student, they have a buddy system. I've heard of this before, but this school did it excellently last year, because my kids were new in the middle of the year. But the buddy, like, was legit to like each of my kids. Like, they take them to get their lunchbox and show her where to put her thing down, and she would give her a big hug at recess, and literally we just held her hand and walked her around everywhere. Like, you can tell that the school is teaching this 7-year-old, at the time I guess she was 6. No, how old are you in second grade? 7. Yeah, the 7-year-old little girl, to like be a good leader to this new student. I just love that. And then lastly, probably one of the main things I love about this school is every time there's an event or a fundraiser or whatever. So let's just say it's Crazy Hat Day. Every single staff member doesn't just have on a hat. They're like decked out, like go all
Yes.
out. And because they're all about leadership. And so the students are going to follow what the leadership is doing. And so I had one student in a public school, right? And then I had my girls in this amazing charter school. And it was like crazy sock day for my son's school, the public school, and like, I don't know what backwards day for the other at the same week. Nobody at the public school, none of the kids were in crazy socks. Nobody cared. It wasn't a big deal. It was like a thing. Like everybody emailed us, you're supposed to wear crazy socks. Like nobody did. Because it was like no big deal. But then at the girls' school, the charter school, it was like my kids were like, Mom, I need to wear whatever it was that day. They were very adamant, like I have to wear it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And everybody's just all decked out. It's because
that's awesome.
Standard. It really does make a difference when all of the staff, even the principal, is decked out in something silly like crazy socks or whatever. So it's just, I just love the attention to detail that they put into everything.
Yeah.
The culture there is like just bright and fun, and it's just brought out so much strength in my kids. Like white schools are so lame. Like nobody's gonna like have a dance party.
No.
Like, the only person that would think that is their amazing principal, who that's just a part of her culture.
Yeah.
We're gonna dance it out. Literally before school, they have dance parties every day.
I love it. The next question I have is, how do you balance mom life and school involvement? What does your typical day look like?
So obviously having my kids in school makes this so much easier because with homeschooling, I had a really hard time balancing because I also have a small business. So it's like, when do I work and when do I teach? Like, I need to pee. Can you guys leave me alone for 5 seconds?
Yeah, right.
The tough part is that I have 4 kids, so it makes it really difficult to be a room mom since I have a 2-year-old.
Right.
So I can't just like sign up to pop in and cut paper. Like I would love to do that. My mom did that for me when I was a kid, and I just loved seeing her there, and it made me feel proud, you know. So it kind of breaks my heart that I can't do that. But if I am able to go on the field trips, I will make sure that I can get a babysitter and go. But I just have to be okay with where I'm at, and I can't be all things to all people all the time.
Right.
So yeah, I just like to instill that school spirit, and like being involved in the school is fun. So like if I can be involved, I want to like transfer that enthusiasm to my kids.
Right.
Because that was a big part of shaping me. I really loved like school spirit and being involved in stuff and seeing my mom. So I want to pass it on to them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, and like you said, it's like you have your business, you have like other things. So it does give you some freedom to be able to work on those things.
Oh, and a typical day. You want to hear?
Yeah, I want to hear.
My favorite part. So I wake up at like 6:00.
Okay.
And I wake my kids up at 6:15. They get dressed. They brush their teeth. We have like oatmeal or eggs or something.
Okay.
And they put their shoes on, and we get in the car. And then we drive to school, and they get out of my car. They get out of my
Is
car.
that the best part? That's the best part of the day.
And they say, bye, Mom. And I say, see you later. And I come home. And sometimes I sit on the couch and I watch like the Fuller House episodes because that's super fun. Sometimes I play with Wyatt. Sometimes I work. I mean, I always work and always play with Wyatt, but you know, I'm not a routine person unless I have to be. And then like, I don't know, Wyatt takes a nap. I might take a nap. I might get coffee.
Yeah.
Read my Bible. And then guess what? It's like, I don't know,
10
2:30
a.m.
in the car, and I drive to the school and I pick them up. And that means they've been taught all the things all day long, and I didn't have to do none of it. It's the best.
That's great.
But if you choose to homeschool, you're great.
Every family and every personality is different.
Yes.
So
Yes.
whatever works for you and your people, that's great. But I feel like I can relate to wanting that kind of day as well. So I'm on board. I like it. Okay, next question. What is a piece of advice that you would give a mom who's thinking through different schooling options for her kids?
I think that people need to understand that they can do whatever comes to you. So, like, that's hard. Because when I was doing homeschool and I felt like I was really struggling, people would say, "You can do this, Tiffany." And I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, I can do this." And then when I realized like I really wasn't doing it, I was failing. It's a and then people are like, "No, you're not failing." They're like trying to be nice. No, guys, seriously. I was failing. And so you have to know your limits.
Yeah.
So like I'm thankful for this time that I'm able to put my kids in school and whatever happens with the legislation of California and whatever, I have had this time to process and heal my mind and my spirit and my relationship with my kids, whatever, from the damage that I did to myself with homeschool. Um, and I think that if it ever comes down to it and I need to switch it up again, I could probably conquer it a little bit better than I did before. So don't be afraid to do whatever you think is best for you and your kids.
Yeah.
Um, and know that like you're going to be equipped with what you need when and if the time comes. So like just try one thing, see how you're doing, know your limits, and not being afraid to make decisions off of what somebody else thinks, or what ultimately is best for your health and your kids' health and the well-being of your family.
Yeah.
Um, I remember I used to think that homeschool was going to be like what was best for my kids because all my other sweet and amazing tempered moms around me were doing it and like showing their park play dates and they were twirling in the grass with dandelions in their hair and that's actually not true at all because that's just what I obviously believed in my head, but the reality was that it's not that. And my moms around me who do homeschool, they're working extremely hard and
Yeah.
they desire to do it, and so just do whatever it is that you desire to do with your kids in mind.
Yeah. That could even change in different seasons.
Yeah.
And maybe at one season or one time in your life, for whatever reason, you're not in a place mentally or emotionally to
Yeah.
homeschool, or you're not ready to let your kids go to charter school, or, like whatever. And then as they get older, or as their personalities grow, or as your personality grows, like those are all different factors that can play into those decisions in moving forward with our kids and what's best for them, what's best for the family. So that's a really good reminder too. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. The last question that I have for you. So, what is the legacy that you want to leave for your children?
I think that I want my kids to like live out honest lives, like to themselves, to people around them. I hope that they see that in me. Like I fail them so many times. Goodness gracious, I fail them so many times. I say things I shouldn't say. I don't spend time with them when I'm looking at my phone or working or whatever. And I try to, if I recognize that I've done something that has wronged them, I swallow my freaking pride and I make sure that they know that I know what I did and
Hmm.
how I hurt them. And I hope that, I guess that would be my legacy. Like I know mom like wasn't perfect, but I don't know, she was willing to say she was sorry. She was willing to redeem things. She was willing to reconcile. She was willing to always like I want my kids to know like mommy failed a lot. I just always try to tell Sayla and the kids like, okay, I yelled at you and I'm really sorry. Like I got really mad. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
It's such a loaded question.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I don't know. That's why I keep asking everyone.
Changing this up. Let's ask Aubrey.
Yeah. I want my kids to know that they are loved. And yeah, I guess kind of similarly to you. And I also don't really know how to put it. Like to know that they are loved by me and by God ultimately. I want my love for them to be like a representation of Christ's love for us, but very different from Christ. I want to similarly like be able to go to my kids and say that I'm sorry and to make things right with them when I know that I've messed up and to not let the pride of, well, I'm the mom and I know what I'm doing and this is how it goes or this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Not ever letting that get in the way, but being real with them and using that as like even gospel conversations with my kids, which happens often.
Mm-hmm.
Like I messed up. I want to be able to go to my kids and to build that habit now
Yeah.
of like, you know what? I messed up and I'm sinful and this is why I need Jesus. And it won't be the last time I mess up, but I want, can you forgive me? Will you forgive me? Modeling that to them. So yeah, I don't know. I want to leave a legacy of loving my children, trying to be a representation of Christ's love to them, being someone that can recognize when I'm wrong and ask for forgiveness, like modeling that to them,
Mm-hmm.
and just being like a safe person for them to talk to. I think along with like wanting them to know that they are so loved, I never want them to be scared that they're going to disappoint me so they can't tell me something when they do mess up or whatever it may be.
Yeah, totally. It's funny thinking about this. I was like, oh, I'm such a failure. I don't, blah, blah, blah. I always feel like my kids, literally every day, I don't know, I don't meet their needs enough. They go to bed crying because they say, you don't spend time with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we just sat here for 10 minutes, like rubbing your back and singing you songs and eating dinner together. But
Right.
the pressure having to meet all of their needs, feeling like I can't because there's so many of them, is like sad. So sometimes I'm like, that's what I want my legacy to be. But then what if my legacy is actually like, mom never made time for me?
I mean, even for myself, it's like being a mom is exhausting and having like multiple children, like you said, you're like, I can't meet all their needs all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
do have to like think like, okay, I haven't really spent very much time with this kid. And
Yeah.
this could be why they're acting out or why they're having an attitude or why they're just needing more attention and asking for it in negative ways, like um so I think it's good to like think through those things, but I also think kids can be dramatic and when they say some of those things, I don't know. Maybe it's good for you to think through, but if you're like, no, I actually have been spending time with you, you're fine.
For a while, we tried to do date days with our kids. And so then it was like, we never had a weekend together because there's so many kids.
Oh, yeah.
So now we do 10 to 15 minutes of time every day. At least we try to. We set the timer and it's like, okay, you get to do whatever you want in the house besides eating or looking at a phone. So like,
I like that.
that's been really good. Like they love it. It's only 10 minutes and they eat it up. Most of the time they just want to look at my old pictures, like in photo albums or play a game. So that's a cool piece of advice that we were given. Just giving them undivided 10 minutes. It's like all they need. It's crazy.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's a great idea. That's super practical. I feel like I'm going to steal that idea because, yeah, lately I've been feeling like I'm trying to help everyone and do all the things, and I don't want to sit on the floor and play cards for 2 hours, but I can do 10 minutes. That's good.
what I've noticed by doing that, their demeanor completely changes and then
Yeah.
they play well. So if I sit down and play cards with my youngest Wyatt for 10 minutes, I'll be done and timer goes off, we're done. He's still sitting there playing cards for like 30 more minutes.
Right. That's a great point. I'm totally going to steal that. That's good. Okay. Well, thanks so much for letting me interview you and pick your brain on all the things. But Yeah, thanks for what you shared about what it's like having your kids in a charter school and just kind of what the process has been to get to that point. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
totally.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out all of the goodness from today's episode on the show notes and share this with a friend if it impacted you in any way. You can also leave a review on iTunes so other mamas can join in the movement of loving the woman inside the mother. Join our online Mommispace community every day by following us on Instagram at Mommispace, that's MOMMI space, where you can interact with me, some of our past guests, ask simple or hard questions, and give your valuable input on how to make Mommispace an even more beautiful, safe place for mamas all over the world. All my love to you, mama. You are enough.